Hello and good day to you. It is Talkin really. It's Monday and it's the school holiday week in the UK, the 17th of February, and I'm on holiday. Hooray! Because I'm a teacher, I get holidays. So, hey up. Sounds good. Anyway, I've got enough work to be getting on with. I've got loads of things to edit, so I shall get on with that. Now, the story today is in the Disability News Service, which DNS came out over the weekend. And so it's a story about the DWP, no surprises. A letter shows appalling DWP misled 2 watchdogs over the benefit death. And I'm raising this as a story because there is another story out which will be asking people not to mention the link between benefit cuts and benefit deaths. So that's another story that you'll be able to watch very soon. In the meantime, let's have a look at this story, shall we? So the story DNS Disability News Service is in there online, and it's a story about the DWP has been failing to track recommendations made by its own secret reviews into benefit-related deaths. It's told the spending watchdog 3 years after claiming it had corrected these very same failings. The appalling revelation that the DWP appears to have misled both the National Audit Office, the NAO, and 3 years ago, the ICO, the Information Commissioner's Office, and it will add to mounting evidence of the need for an independent inquiry into deaths caused by the DWP over the last decade. The NAO is now examining a letter provided by Disability News Service and has asked for permission to share it with Parliament and government departments. Meanwhile, DWP has refused to provide assurances that its failure to track progress on implementing recommendations from its secret internal reviews has not caused any further deaths. It's just the latest evidence to emerge of DWP refusing to act to close loopholes in its safeguarding systems that have caused the deaths of numerous benefit claimants, including flaws linked closely to the Work Capability Assessment (WCA) process. The evidence emerged in a briefing document published by NAO, which revealed that DWP has carried out secret internal process reviews, IPRs, into 69 suicides of benefit claimants since April 2014. And in the 7.5 months between April 2019 and November 2019, it carried out 21 IPRs into suicide links to the benefit system, compared with 13 in the whole of 2018-19. DWP told NAO that it had recently begun to more actively monitor intelligence about deaths by suicide from the media. But the NAO report said it was highly unlikely that the 69 cases the department has investigated represents the number of cases it could have investigated in the past 6 years. Previous research by DNS and others suggests DWP carried out about 15 internal reviews a year into suicides of benefit claimants from 2012 to 2014. DWP also admitted to NAO that not all of its staff were aware of guidance telling them when they need to carry out an IPR. IPR should be completed when DWP becomes aware of any suicide of a benefit claimant, regardless of whether there are allegations of department activity contributing to the claimant's suicide, but its guidance said that an IPR is mandatory only when there are allegations that DWP activity may have contributed to the suicide of a claimant. DWP told NAO that the recommendation made in its IPR reports were the main mechanism through which the department would share any lessons from individual cases and seek to make improvement. But it admitted that there were no tracking or monitoring of the status of these recommendations, and so it does not know whether the suggested improvements are implemented. This confession came nearly 3 years after DWP admitted to the Information Commissioner that from February 2012 to September 2015, it kept no records of what happened to recommendations made by its internal reviews into the depth of claimants. It told the Information Commissioner in 2017 that the review process lacked robust governance during this period, but claimed that it had identified changes to improve accountability and responsibility and ensure that recommendations were identified, logged and followed up. Now, nearly 3 years on, DWP has made almost the same confession to the NAO, telling the watchdog that there is no tracking or monitoring of the status of these recommendations, and as a result, the department does not know whether the suggested improvements are implemented. The NAO said this week that it had not been aware of the existence of the ICO letter which was sent to DNS during an investigation into DWP's failure to provide information on whether it had implemented improvements made by its reviews, and had been interested to see it when it was forwarded to the watchdog. The team that put together this week's briefing is now examining the letter, while NAO has secured DNS's permission to share it with Parliament and government departments. The NAO report blows that assertion out of the water and even goes on to say that the department does not even know whether any of the suggested improvements have been implemented, and accepts not all of its staff are aware of its own internal process guidance. No more excuses. People are dying. Enough is enough. The scandal of DWP's failure to learn from the deaths of claimants dates back to shortly before the May 2010 general election, which brought the Conservative-led coalition to power, when a coroner told the department that it needed to make urgent improvements to the WCA system, or other claimants would die. It obviously failed to make those changes, and claimants continued to take their own lives as a result of flawed WCA throughout the next decade. A DWP spokesperson refused this week to answer any questions from DNS about the ICO letter and its responsibility for the deaths of claimants. She refused to explain why DWP misled both the ICO and the NAO, refused to say which civil servants and ministers would be taking responsibility for the department's actions, and if anyone would be resigning, and refused to say if the department could be sure that the failure to implement and track recommendations from its IPRs had not caused any further deaths. She also refused to say that it was about time for an independent inquiry into links between DWP and the deaths of claimants, and also if there should be a criminal investigation into alleged misconduct in a public office by ministers and senior civil servants, as demanded by grassroots groups of disabled people and relatives of claimants who have died. So there we go. It's another nail in the coffin of the story of the DWP and how they are behaving and the lack of accountability. Right, watch out for my other video coming up shortly, and of course have a good day, and I'll catch you later. Bye for now.